Hi you peeps and Disney freaks, welcome to yet another episode of Disney Unraveled, where we will dive into the world of Disney and talk about the stories that inspired them. Hi and welcome. If you're new to my channel, I'm Amber and I'm a Disney geek making Disney related content. So if you like what I did here, don't forget to like, subscribe and ring the bell to get notified whenever I upload. Now we did all that, we will talk about our first modern Disney movie. The first Renaissance movie, Beauty and the Beast. The story begins with a beautiful forest and a castle in the distance. The narrator tells us the story about a prince and how he became a beast. An enchantress reveals to be the old lady that the prince tried to send away. She gives him an enchanted rose, and the rose will bloom until his 21st birthday. If by then he didn't find someone to love him for him, he would stay a beast forever. In the next scene we meet Belle, a beautiful girl out of a small village, where the villagers think she is rather odd because she likes to read. Gaston, the most handsome guy in the village, wants to marry her. Belle's father, Maurice, goes to the fair with his newest invention, but gets lost in the woods and ends up in the Beast's castle. The Beast finds him there and gets angry because the old man probably wanted to look at the monster living in the castle and locks him up. Gaston proposes to Belle, but she refuses. Belle finds out something happened to her father, and her horse leads her to the castle. There she finds her father locked in a cell and says to the Beast she wants to take her father's place. Stunned, the Beast agrees. Gaston is humiliated because Belle refused him. The fool sings a song to make him feel better. Maurice storms in to help him rescue Belle, but they think he is crazy and throw him out of the tavern. The Beast asks Belle to have dinner with him, which she refuses. Later the girl gets hungry and walks to the kitchen. Lumiere bursts out in a song about guests and food. Later they show Belle the castle, but she finds the West Wing more interesting after the Beast told her not to go there. Bad decision Belle goes anyway. Almost touches the enchanted rose and gets chased out of the castle by the Beast. He saves her from the wolves and she takes him back to the castle and takes care of his wounds. Gaston makes a plan to send Maurice to a madhouse if Belle doesn't agree to marry him. Beast gives Belle his library, and they get closer. They dance together to the iconic song Beauty and the Beast. Belle finds out through the magic mirror that her father is sick, and he's probably going to die, so the Beast lets Belle go. Belle cares for her father, and they find Chip in her bag. Gaston brings his plan into action and locks both Belle and her father up in their basement. When he finds out about the Beast, he and the male villagers go to kill the Beast. Chip frees Belle and her father and they rush to the castle. Meanwhile, the villagers are fighting with the objects in the castle. The objects chase them away, but Gaston finds the Beast and a big fight involves. Beast doesn't want to fight, but after seeing Belle, he finds hope again and fights Gaston. He wins and lets Gaston go, but when the Beast climbs up to Belle, Gaston stabs him in the back, but falls down the tower, and this becomes his end. Right before the last rose petal falls, Belle tells the Beast that she loves him, and he transforms into a human again, and they live happily ever after. Now that I've summarized the Disney movie for you, we are going to talk about the difference between the Disney movie and the fairy tale. I want to say already, sorry for my maybe horrible French, because I will be throwing in some French words here and there. Sorry if I butchered your language. Let's go. The fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast was first written in 1740 by Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve and was originally called La Belle et la Bête. It is influenced by ancient Greek versions like Cupid and Psyche, The Golden Isles by Maurensis, and The Pig King by Straparola. The story by the Villeneuve was first published in Le Jeu Américain et le Conte Marin, or The Young American and the Marine Tales. The version by the Villeneuve is rewritten by Jean-Marie Le Prince Beaumont, and these versions are the two most well-known versions and the two tales we are going to talk about. A widower merchant lives a rich life in a giant mansion with his 12 children, 6 sons and 6 daughters. All of the daughters are very pretty, but the youngest, called Little Beauty, is the most beautiful out of all of them. The girl is named Beauty throughout the story. She was a young adult. Beauty is described as the most lovable, kind, well-read, and purest out of all of the siblings. Her elder sisters are described as cruel, selfish, vain, and spoiled. The merchant loses all of his money in a storm at sea when most of his fleet sinks. He and his children are forced to live in a small cottage now in the countryside. Beauty is the only one who decides to adjust to the country life and does this with determination, but her sisters simply tell her she is stupid for doing so. A couple of years later, one of the merchant ships has survived the storm and has been brought back into port. Before the merchant leaves to the port to collect his ship, he asks his children if they would like him to buy any gifts for them. The elder sisters all ask for clothing and jewelry because they think they are now rich again. Belle, however, Beauty, says she doesn't want any presents, but her father insists on buying a present for her. So she asks for a simple rose because the roses grow in the part where they live. When the merchant arrives back into port, the ship has been ceased to pay his debts and he is now again penniless and unable to buy gifts for his children. When merchant is on his way home, he gets lost in a storm and he finds shelter in a nearby castle. The merchant thinks nobody is home, but he finds the table laid with food and drinks which the invisible owner left for him to find. The next morning, the merchant sees a rose garden and he remembers that Beauty asked for a rose, and so he plucks the most beautiful one he can find, only to be encountered by a hideous beast that tries killing him for stealing his most prized possession after the hospitality he gave to the merchant. The merchant begs for his life and only says he plucked a rose as a gift for his youngest daughter. The beast agrees to let the merchant bring the rose to his youngest daughter, but only if the merchant brings one of his daughters back to the castle without deception. In other words, the daughter must willingly take the merchant's place. She must know what she signs up for. The merchant is, of course, upset, but he agrees, and the beast gives the merchant jewels, clothing, whatever he can wish for his sons and daughters. The merchant gives Beauty a rose while explaining it had a terrible price. The brothers say they will go to the castle to fight the beast, while the sisters simply refuse to go and blame Beauty because they didn't ask for a rose. Beauty decides to go to the castle on a magical horse that the beast provided the merchant with. The beast gives her a big arriving ceremony with fireworks and everything. He gives Beauty beautiful dresses, tasteful food, and then he has long conversations with her at dinner. Beauty thinks the beast is more stupid than savage. And every night, the beast asked Belle to marry him, but every time, Beauty refuses. Every night, Beauty dreams about a handsome prince and starts to fall in love with him. A magic fairy appears and tells Beauty not to be deceived by appearances. But Beauty does not make a connection between the prince and the beast. She even thinks that the beast holds the prince hostage in his castle. She keeps searching for the prince, but she only finds enchanted rooms and animals such as monkeys and parrots, but she never finds the prince. For several months, Beauty lives a life of luxury in the beast's castle, but she eventually becomes homesick, so she begs the beast to see her family again. The beast agrees if she returns to him exactly 2 months later. Belle agrees, and the beast gives her an enchanted ring that makes her wake up in her family's home in an instant. Belle's sisters are very surprised to see her so healthy and well fed and dressed in a beautiful garment, and soon they become jealous once again. Belle is touched by her father's overprotectiveness and she decides to stay longer. When the 2 months passed, Beauty sees the Beast in a vision near to that. So she hurries herself back to the castle and finds him almost dead near a cave on the castle grounds. Beauty is very distraught by this and she realizes she loves him, and so she agrees to marry him that night. When she wakes up, she finds that the Beast transformed into the prince of her dreams. The fairy that warned Belle arrives with the prince's mother, who isn't that happy that Beauty isn't of noble birth. The fairy criticizes the mother and says that Belle is her niece, making her real father the queen's brother. Then the prince tells his tale. His mother had to defend the kingdom, and so she left him in the care of an evil fairy who tried to seduce him when he was an adult. When the prince refused, she turned him into a beast. And only by finding true love despite of his ugliness, he was able to transform back into a prince. Beauty and the Beast marry and they live happily ever after. What the Beaumont did was reduce the characters in the story. She goes from 12 siblings to 6, which Beauty is one of. So 3 brothers, 2 sisters and Beauty. Beaumont stripped the story a lot from the lavish descriptions of Belle's exploration of the castle, and she quickly goes to Beauty going back home, and she not stays for 2 months but 1 week. And what happens in Beaumont's story is that the sisters try to seduce Belle to stay another week with them by saying that they love her and they want her to be with them, and the sisters hope once Beauty returns to the Beast, he will devour her in his anger. Beauty returns to him, she marries him, and that is where this story ends. As you can see, Disney took some elements out of the original fairy tale, but made it a whole new story actually, and a bit more suitable for children as well. If you want to watch a Beauty and the Beast movie that is more like the original story, I really recommend the Belle et la Bête movie from 2014 with Léa Seydoux and Vincent Cassel. It's one of my favorite Beauty and the Beast retellings, and it's a really nice watch. Walt already looked to adapt Beauty and the Beast from the 30s to the 50s, but it was a real challenge for Walt and his team. He tried right after the Snow White and again in the 50s, but both times they failed, and so they stocked it on the shelf, ready to be discovered again. So they went with Beauty and the Beast, and they spent months in London trying to develop the story. They did this together with producer Don Hahn and music writers Alan Menken and Howard Ashman. However, they made an almost complete story reel, but they dropped this entirely because it didn't work. It was mostly just 2 people sitting at dinner every night and the Beast asking Belle to marry him, much like the original story. That's when Disney went to Gary Trousdale and Kirk Wise, the new directors of this movie, who never directed an animated feature before. The storyteller team was quite young and they all wanted to make the best story ever. They even hired Linda Wolverton, who worked as a screenwriter. And they were in luck when Joe Grant decided to join the story team as well. He was a real storyteller veteran who worked on Pinocchio and Dumbo. Beauty and the Beast were the only really main characters in the original story, and so the story writers wanted to create more interesting characters to develop the story. Beast was supposed to be the protagonist in the movie, but he only becomes this later on, and so this was a chance to make Belle the protagonist, the strong protagonist of this movie. She wants adventure, she reads, she's eccentric, etc. Beast goes through the most growth in this movie. He is hero, villain, victim, all in one. The humans that turn into objects were there to guide the viewers through the story. Also, for comic relief, they were supposed to be our surrogates. They see what we are seeing and they are commenting on it. It wasn't longer about Belle and the Beast only, but more about this whole community. Now, all what the story needed was a great villain, and Gaston went through a lot of changes. They wanted Gaston to be the comic relief, but also to be a really good villain. They wanted Gaston to be handsome, but in the words of Don Juan, to have the heart of a pig. Gaston goes from being funny to a jerk to a murderer. And so Beauty and the Beast created multi-dimensional characters. James Baxter animated Belle, and he had a hard job of giving her a soul, beauty from the outside, but also from within. Glenn Keane was the head animator for Beast. Will Finn was the head animator of Cogsworth, and he said that it was one of the most satisfying things he ever did in animation. Trousdale and Wise said that Mrs. Potts was basically a talking fragile head, and so they wanted the animators to draw a pillow on the floor where she jumps from the fire mantle so she wouldn't break. Andreas Deja was the head animator for Gaston. The last phrase of Cogsworth's line, flowers, chocolates and promises you don't intend to keep, were ad-libbed by David Odin Steers. Angela Lansbury of course sang the song of Beauty and the Beast and is a true classic nowadays, but she thought that somebody else was more suited to be the singing voice of Mrs. Potts, and Trousdale and Wise just asked her to record the demo of the song anyway, and this was actually the demo that ended up in the movie. The songs take up 25 minutes of the movie, and only 5 minutes of the whole movie doesn't have any musical score at all. Howard Ashman died 8 months before the release of the movie, and the movie is dedicated to him. At the end of the film credits you can read, "To our friend Howard, who gave a mermaid her voice and a beast his soul. We will forever be grateful." Until Disney Pixar's Up, this was the only animated feature to be nominated for Best Film Academy Award. Donny Osmond and Patrick Swayze were considered to the role of Gaston. Osmond eventually played Gaston in a musical version of Beauty and the Beast and became Shang's singing voice in Disney's Mulan. During the climax scene, Gaston yells, "Belle is mine!" But it first was supposed to be "Time to die!" But they changed it so to fit Belle back into the scene. The role of Cogsworth was made with John Cleese in mind, but he turned down the role. Sir Ian McKellen was also brought up to play Cogsworth, and eventually he played Cogsworth in the live-action remake of 2017. David Odin Steers, who got Cogsworth, did a did for Lumiere first, and Lumiere was eventually voiced by Jerry Orbach. I thank you all so much for watching the 5th episode of the Disney Unraveled series. I would love to have some suggestions for next parts, they're always welcome, remember that. And I thank you again for watching. Stay healthy, stay safe, and I see you guys next time. Bye bye.